Welcome to the first episode of Games. I've been thinking about making a video series about old games for a long time, mainly because nowadays many old games tend to be forgotten, and even those games which are considered classics nowadays slowly turn into nothing more than famous names most gamers have heard of, but not really played. So I could have made a show which presents old games and goes into detail of every aspect of them. Then again, video series like that are already long established, like Chris Arsick's awesome Ancient DOS games and Clint Basinger's equally amazing Lazy Game reviews. Check them out if you haven't seen them yet. So first of all, there are not really any new grounds in that direction. Second of all, the endless amount of Let's Plays on YouTube renders the idea of yet another video series that shows playthroughs or long plays of games rather uninspired. So I thought to myself, why not make a video series presenting interesting trivia, secrets, funny anecdotes and facts about games which aren't already commonly known. Of course, many longtime gamers watching this series might know a lot of stuff, but could also be reminded of funny things they might have forgotten over the years. People who haven't played games from the DOS era and early Windows era will hopefully consider this a nice little addition to other more in-depth videos. I will cover 5 classic games in each video of the series, so let's begin. I will start by mentioning some things that are quite well known already, just because if you're gonna make a series about facts and trivia, these things simply have to be included.
Hi, my name's Guybrush Threepwood, and I want to be a pirate.
Yikes! Don't sneak up on me like that!
I'm over this way.
Now this one's something every fan of point-and-click adventures will have heard of. The origin of the name of Monkey Island's protagonist, the mighty pirate Guybrush Threepwood. Back in the day, the guys at Lucasfilm Games created their sprites with the program Deluxe Paint. The artist creating the main character of the game hadn't thought about a name yet and saved the graphics file simply as guy.bbm. Later on, Steve Purcell, who's worked as an artist at Lucasfilm Games for many years and also happens to be the inventor of Sam & Max Freelance Police, renamed the file to guybrush.bbm, just to indicate that the graphics file consists of the brush format in Deluxe Paint. From that moment on, the developers kept calling the nameless character Guybrush.
Captain's log, Guybrush Threepwood.
Guybrush Threepwood? That's the stupidest name I've ever heard.
Well, what's your name?
My name is Mancomb Seepgood.
Nowadays, everybody knows the 5th part of the Elder Scrolls saga, Skyrim. No previous game of the series was ever so popular and famous. However, all the previous installments of the saga were pretty groundbreaking when they were released. Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, and Oblivion, just to name the previous games in the regular saga, all had their unique features that made them stand out. Funny thing though that the first game in the series, Arena, was actually conceived as something completely different to what the game turned out to be. You see, Bethesda Softworks originally wanted to make a gladiator-themed game in which you would have to travel from one arena to another, fight tournaments, and become some kind of ultimate champion. Later on, the developers added more things you could do while traveling from one arena to the next. These missions in between tournaments turned out to be the one thing everybody liked most, so in the end, the gladiator theme was scrapped and the developers concentrated on enhancing the rest of the game world and its possibilities. Back then, nobody outside of the company believed that an RPG with such a huge amount of freedom could actually work. But it did, and, as we all know, has grown into much more over the years. Some of you might remember Warcraft 2 as one of the very best real-time strategy games ever made. Even today, the game hasn't lost a bit of its original charm. The comic-y graphics still look beautiful today. So here's the first of 2 funny things Blizzard did. When you clicked on one of your units in order to command them to do something, they vocalized their willingness,
Yes, sire. Your orders?
or reluctance,
Make up your mind.
in various funny ways. Now in the demo version of the game, the shareware version, you heard something like this from a unit.
You've played the shareware, now buy the game. In the retail version, I'm much funnier.
8-player network with multiplayer capability with full rendered audio and movies in the full retail version. Buy it now.
Now, because of that funny voice acting, the soundtrack of the game included a special music track, of which I'm just gonna play a short excerpt.
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Why do you keep touching me?
As I said, this was just one of the funny things. You see, back in the day you had to set up your game to work optimally. This included telling the installation program what kind of sound card your computer had. You could then test if the sound card works properly by playing a short sound sample. In the case of Warcraft 2, it was this one.
Your sound card works perfectly.
If you played that sample 5 times in a row, it became this.
Enjoying yourself?
If you even continued then, you heard this.
It doesn't get any better than this.
It's noteworthy that this was the case with all the different language versions of the game.
Are you still touching me? Don't you have a kingdom to run? I do have work to do. Join the army, they said. See the world, they said. I'd rather be sailing.
Global Defense Initiative selected.
Being at the subject of real-time strategy classics and of game setup and installation, there's another particularly awesome example of how creative some developers were back in the DOS era. Not much to say here actually, I'm just gonna show you how creative these installations were. Take a look at the installation of Command & Conquer.
Center. Sound hardware initialized. This program will install Command & Conquer to the following directory. If you wish to install to another directory and/or drive, please type it in below. Thank you. Installing. Please stand by. While you are waiting, please fill out your registration card and send it in. For last-minute changes and notes, please examine the README file.
Walking was not exactly what it was, and it seemed more like gliding. Then I found a thick area.
Installation complete.
Now if you thought that was creative, just check out the installer of Command & Conquer 2, Red Alert.
Sound hardware initialized. This program will install Red Alert to the following directory. If you wish to install to another directory or drive, please type it in below. The directory you have selected already exists. Do you wish to continue installing to this directory? Thank you. Installing. Please fill out the registration card while you are waiting. For last-minute changes and notes, please view the README file.
He who controls the past commands the future. He who commands the future conquers the past.
Now, this Facto Games episode started with a curious story of the origins of a name, so why not end the episode with another story just like it? The protagonist of the incredibly successful spaceflight series Wing Commander is called Christopher Blair. This name isn't a reference to Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, but instead also originates from a graphic design factor, just as Guybrush from Monkey Island did. You see, the original MS-DOS version of the first Wing Commander game only had a color spectrum of 16 colors. Because of this, the black hairdo of the protagonist looked as if it were interspersed with blue wisps. So, while still in development, everybody referred to him as Blue Hair, which subsequently turned into Blair. In the first two games of the series, the protagonist is still nameless, and you have to name him yourself. It wasn't until Wing Commander 3 Heart of the Tiger that the protagonist was called Christopher Blair.
This is Colonel Christopher Blair. Report to Admiral Tolman. The wreckage of the Concordia has been located. Evaluation. Total loss.
So, that's it for today's episode of Facto Games. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe even learned an interesting thing or two. There's still much more to come, so if you like the concept of this video series, please consider subscribing or just search for Facto Games on YouTube every now and then. So if you like, tune in to the next episode. Until then, take care.